Episode 105 Boomer Guitar Sessions. I am Rod, and today we're going to tackle one of the biggest struggles musicians have to overcome if they want to get beyond just playing the tablature, which I think it's absolutely imperative that you do this. If you want to become a musician, you're not just playing other people's notes. You're coming up with your own notes. So this question came from Steve. And he says, what exercises would you suggest for me to start understanding how I could sit in and jam with someone? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about today. So people who know how to jam, the first thing that you need to know how to do is do all the basic stuff. You need to get the basic things like I can play the song, I can play songs, I can play phrases, I can play melodies, I can play riffs, and I'm building a bank and a vocabulary of all that stuff. So beyond that, we have to practice. If jamming is your thing in the history of rock and roll, 60s and on to probably Nirvana, jamming was a thing. You have to practice in a way that promotes the ability to create on the fly. Jimi Hendrix didn't become Jimi Hendrix by just playing somebody else's guitar licks only, all right? So what we're going to talk about today is 10-step process that we can get into. You want to be able to jam with confidence. You want to be able to be free. Freedom is what we're after. Now, also understand you need to train like a musician who jams. You need to listen to people who jam. Okay, so if you're listening to Jimi Hendrix, if you're listening, even Angus Young, even all those guys, they know how to jam. They did not take out their quill pen and write out a guitar solo. They started jamming the guitar solo. They may have settled on something, but it came first in the jam. So, okay, so the first thing I would say, master the common chord progressions. In this, you have your major chord progressions, you have your minor chord progressions, you have your funky chord progressions, you have your rock and chord progressions. More so than anything else, probably, the more common is learn your 12-bar blues chord progression and learn as many variations of it as possible, because you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, the amount of times that this comes up in a jam session. The fact that the blues comes up even in songs you don't necessarily think of as the blues. The song, the chord form is, the chord progression is the blues. So like your 1-5-6-4 is another progression, your 1-4-5, all different kinds of chord progressions. Also, what you want to do is, once you learn these chord progressions, you want to learn to be able to play them with different chord voicings, not just the one chord voicing. You want to check out lots of different ways to play the same chords. Don't be stuck with just one way to play the G chord. So anyway, borrow from the people, borrow from the masters in every step of the way. Listen to people who do this and listen to what they do. Number 2, develop strong timing and groove. To me, rhythm is everything. Rhythm is everything. Rhythm is everything. That is it. Rhythm is everything. You can start with the rhythm. You want to work on your pocket, you work on your stuff. Rhythm is more important than playing in key. Playing in key is important. But if you play great rhythm and great phrasing, you can get away with playing out of key. I've heard it done many a time. Victor Wooten. YouTube Victor Wooten playing out of key, but in the right pocket. So certainly we want to play in key. We do want to learn to do that, but get a pocket together. Practice. I say practice with songs. I say practice with drum machines. Songs, drum machines. I say practice with backing tracks. I say don't practice with a metronome. That doesn't teach you how to improvise. You don't hear how your melodies are reacting to a set of chord changes. I say listen to lots of different players and how they interpret the rhythm. Like in a jam session, you don't just have lead guitar players. You have rhythm guitar players. You don't have just rhythm guitar players. You have somebody playing just their little coloring on top of it. You don't have that. You have some people who are playing sometimes and then backing out other times. So When we're in a jam session, we don't have to play all the time. That's another important thing. We're going to talk more about that later. Okay, different strumming feels: straight, swung, shuffle, funk, rockin', metal. All that stuff prepares you to be able to do anything. All right? New Orleans style. Okay, learn to listen and react. When I say the jamming musician, when I think of jamming musicians, everybody thought of jazz musicians are the ones that know how to do this. Well, I think of it as a reactionary. How do we react to a musical stimuli that is being fed to us? If all we learn is jazz, then we're only going to learn how to play in that particular sound. If all we're learning how to do is swing, that's all we're going to learn. Those are the only sounds that are come out. We want to learn lots of different kinds of sounds. We want to listen to lots of different players. Practice call and response phrases. Like when I say call and response, you play a little phrase and then play a phrase, play in sentences, statements. Your solo should say, when you're soloing, your solo should tell stories. Phrase, response to that phrase. Phrase, response to that phrase. Play with dynamics. Don't always play loud. Sometimes don't play at all. Play soft. Have an arch to your solo, which we're all going to, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mute the guitar. Mute the guitar sometimes. Exercise silence. These are all things that nobody ever talks about in jam sessions. Part of the musical thing is to being supportive and putting the thing in. When you're not soloing, you want to put in the thing that is needed, that is not present. Usually that is a support thing. It can be a rhythm, it can be a comp, it can be a melody phrase, it can be, how to fit into something and make it sound, take it in another direction, or just support the current direction. All right, so next, expand your repertoire of songs, expand your repertoire of riffs, expand your repertoire of licks. Listen to as many players who are in this, the Claptons, the Jeff Becks, the Rory Gallaghers, the Herbie Hancocks, the all kinds of players. Some jazz musicians you can check out. Jerry Garcia. Guys that know how to jam, check them out. Check out what are the lessons, what is their music trying to teach you? What lessons do you hear within their music? So learn the essential songs whenever you get into jam sessions. There's essential lists of songs that you hear all the time. Those would be the perfect songs for you to practice. And then practice the blues, and then practice some funk. Like a funk progression would be like something like that's what I call the Dorian 1/4. Super common. It's in thousands of songs. Okay, it could be just a ninth chord, like the James Brown chord. So get comfortable with scales. Practice scales over backing tracks. Practice scales in real time. See how scales work over chords. Listen, play melodies. It's not just a scale. You want to get scale, and then you want to think, how do I make a melody out of this? And listen to people that do it. And just spend some time just creating melodies without trying to be the fastest guitar player in the world. That's not that important. So many great guitar players are respected, and they say I can't play fast. Leslie West, David Gilmour, those two come to mind. Everybody loves those guys. So be able to play phrases, be able to play, and then you can build it up. You can build up a dynamic of like an arch of how far up you can go into the weirdness. That comes later. Pentatonic, Mixolydian, Dorian, natural minor, major scales, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. These are all chord tones. These are all tools that we can learn. And in Boomer Guitar Sessions, we have lessons in all these things. So check those out. Target notes, target chord tone notes. Okay, always practice with a backing track with these things, with these scales and various different tools. Number 6 is develop a very solid sense of dynamics. Learning how to play soft when soft is required. All right? Learning how to, and then cranking it up when it's effective. All right? So strumming lightly and then digging in. Okay? Holding back and then cutting the rope. This is a dynamic, the push and pull within music. Train your ear for jamming, number 7. What this means is you hear the chord changes. These are common chord changes that if you're practicing right, you know what these chord changes are. What do I do when I hear this thing? These are the things that I can do. All right? This is how you practice in the practice room. All right? Figure out any song, go into a playlist in Spotify and figure out what key the song is in and play over top of it. That's a great way of learning how to jam. Is you take a song that you don't know how to play and you figure out what key it is and then play over top of it. Whether the song has a solo or not doesn't matter. All right. Number 8, learn to play in different keys. You have to play in different keys. We're not just playing in one key. Though a lot of my students, when they first start out, the first goal I have for them is just to be able to jam in E minor. So when you have like a, to be able to do that is like maybe your first thing, that is your first big goal, to be able to do that. E is pretty common in rock and metal and classic rock, and so that's the key I start them with. But be able to play in all different keys. All right. Next is work on your nonverbal communication in jam session. Look at the people that you're playing with. Do not shut your eyes. That's not cool. You think it's cool, but it's not. Do not shut your eyes. Look, watch, try to get into it. Support the person who is soloing. If they're soloing, play with taste. You try to create the part that is needed, and don't be pushy musically. Don't be a bully. Okay, don't enforce your will on the groove. Okay, so this nonverbal communication thing that we want to get down, it's a wonderful thing when you're playing music. That is why I think jamming is super important and super fun, because you get to have that kind of communication, and it is communication that we're doing when we improvise and jam with others. Making eye contact. Listen to the drummer's kick drum and snare drum and just get into the pocket of that and play something that sounds good with that. All right. Number 10, practice along with, first of all, backing tracks, but also listen to live music and live versions of these songs, and see what improvising musicians have done on the fly and model yourself after that. All right. So anyway, different styles. We don't want to stick to just one style. This is the way, the freedom, according to Rod, according to Boomer Guitar Sessions, according to my approach, which I call boom pop. We bring influences from every direction, we'll steal from jazz, we'll steal from funk, we'll steal from hip hop, we'll steal from rock and country. It's all good. We can learn from all of it. If you have questions about any of these scales and any of these things, check out past Boomer Guitar Session episodes, Mixolydian and Dorian and minor pentatonic and major pentatonic. Okay, major scale. All of that is covered in the first 100 videos. And then if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will absolutely, if it's a good question, I will answer it. All right, this is Rod, Boomer Guitar Sessions. I appreciate you. I know you can do this. Make this fun. If it's fun like it is with me, it's not work. It's life-giving. See you next time. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember, you can do this.